Dixie Chicks, Mason Dixie line. All these everybody's heard about. Today, we're going to talk something about what no one's heard about, the Dixie Mafia.
Ladies and gentlemen of all ages, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Angry Meat Production. We appreciate you coming in and letting us be a part of your lives week in and week out. We hope to do our best to present you with something that your eardrums delight in. Whether you're looking at us on YouTube or Rumble, or listening to us on Spotify, Google, or Anchor, or any of the other podcast services that we are currently on or trying to get on. We thank you. And if you don't mind, at the end of every episode, stop by, leave us a comment, leave us a like. If it asks for 5 stars, we'll take 5 stars, even if you don't like us. 5 stars are what it's all about. With that being said, we hope you enjoy our attempt to make our advocation our vocation. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Hello, everybody. Yeah. We're gonna get into the Dixie Mafia. I heard vaguely of this. It was part of the thing of JFK assassination, and so I figured I'd give it a go on the Dixie Mafia. So I guess let's begin. Let's see here. Dixie Mafia is an American criminal organization composed mainly of white Southerners and based in the um, Biloxi, Mississippi, or operating primarily throughout the southern United States. Since the last, at least 1960s, this group active include movements of stolen merchandise, illegal alcohol, and illegal drugs. Now let's begin. Beginning in the 1960s, the Dixie Mafia began working as a loosely knit group of traveling criminals performing regular burglaries, robberies, and theft. The gang did not function with set chain of command, but was led by whoever had the most money. I could see that. Despite the informational structure, the Dixie Mafia had one rule that members were expected to obey: "Thou shalt not snitch to the cops." I can understand the reason why. Unlike members of the American Mafia, the members of the Dixie Mafia were not connected by family, country, or origin. They were loosely connected individuals of many nationalities, with the common goal to make money and wield control over illegal money-making operations by any means, including influence peddling, robbery of public officials, and murder. The gang became known for carrying out contract killings, particularly against former members. During its peak, from as early as 1960s to like the 1980s, dozens of these peoples were murdered, usually shot by its members. Victims were mostly often murdered because they testified or threatened to testify against fellow members. The Strip, the Biloxi, Mississippi, was home. Oh, the Strip, okay, in Biloxi, Mississippi, was home base of the Dixie Mafia. And Mike Glitch Jr. was the group's unofficial de facto kingpin, or Cortona. Cortona is a South Slavic ethnic group native to Cortodia, western part of Bosnia-Herzegovina and other neighboring countries in southern Europe. Okay, descent and from a large poor families. He had raised himself in the city of the Point Cad section to become wealthy. I'm sure along the Strip, he owned a string of malls and nightclubs that doubled as strip joints and gambling dens, as well as bingo parlors. He was known as and tested by almost every member of the Dixie Mafia, especially those who trusted no one else. In other words, one investigator of the Shirley murders, Mr. Mike runs the criminals' post office. He's their banker. Oh, that's cool. Gunch was a also partner and prosecutor Kinsley McCoy Nix Jr., one of the gang's most notable members. In December 1965, at the age of 22, Nix was caught carrying illegal automatic weapons to Fort Smith Arkansas. An old friend of his, Joda Jones, ran a brothel there. Man, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I see brothel, I'm thinking whorehouse. Can't say whorehouse. You just gotta say brothel. Make it. What do you work at? Oh, I work at the brothel. It's so nice. Could you use the word brothel, right? It's nice. It's a whorehouse. Just call it a whorehouse. And Nix became involved with Jones' adolescent daughter, Sierra LeRae. That's a weird name. In later years, she played a key role in his operations, including direct ties to the murder of Vince and Margaret Sherry. Edward Holmes, Humes, not Holmes, in 1994, book Mississippi Mud, chronicling their murderers and the subsequent investigation of Glentz, Nix, Bob Fatton, and others who were involved in their loosely and active murders. With the aid of his father's connections and neighboring Oklahoma, Nix beat the weapons charge in Fort Smith and moved on to other crimes. He was suspected of the gangland-style murders of gambler named Henry Bennett, who was about to turn state evidence against several Dixie Mafia members. Although Nix's involvement in Bennett's murder was never proven, this incident is particularly a string of killings that left 25 people dead in 6 states over the next 4 years. Sweet baby Jesus, that's a lot of killings. I bet Nix killed 25 people. Could be. Nix was a suspect in the attempted assassination of McHenry County, Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusher, and the members of the Pusher's and the murder of Pusher's wife. Nix was convicted of the murders wealthy New Orleans grocery owner Frank Carso. I wonder if it's Costco. Man. At the time of the murders, Nix was believed to be employed by Darrell Ward of Clarksville, Texas. Ward was a noted associate of Chicago mob boss Sam Gininci. Yeah, Sam Gininci, and was and is thought to have controlled organized crime and bootlegging throughout Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. The Dixie Mafia was strongly connected to state line mob and leader Carl Douglas White. The Dixie Mafia's origins were in the Appalachian states, which were regularly dating back to Whiskey Rebellion and the secession movement resolution. Briefly in the state of Franklin, eastern Tennessee, this view of federal government is oppressed and the criminal enterprise against it is justified spread from its place of origins to wealthier regions where the Dixie Mafia operations primarily in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, particularly in the sounds of sites of Birmingham, Baton Rouge, Hannesburg, Cortha, Dallas, and Atlanta. Some of these groups' criminal activities were more obscure parts of their major areas of operation, making the group and their activities harder to pinpoint. The Dixie Mafia committed most of their crimes in areas that lacked strong correlation law enforcement, particularly in small communities throughout South, such as Enemy, Arkansas. In doing so, murders and intimidation and other criminal activities could take place with less risk of local law enforcement being able to directly link the crimes to the organization. Small towns and county law enforcement agencies, especially in poor sections of the South, up to the 1990s, were usually inadequate equipped and rarely had officers with extensive experience in the investigation of homicides and organized crimes, which we found out like 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. But it was 2 years ago. There was a serial killer, and it was in Illinois, and they didn't have like criminal investigation or anything, or uh, anything to that extent. And when they actually did the investigation, just watched the news article. I can't remember exactly where it was. It's just it just goes to show how many small towns don't really have like really good detective work going on. Uh, but they ended up finding the guy that killed the kids. The members of the Dixie Mafia usually create small, seemingly legit business such as buying and selling junk or antiquities. These businesses provide fronts in the operation to buy and sell stolen items provided by others within the network. The businesses usually operate until they arouse suspicion, and then they move to another location, kind of like a circus of crime. You know, circuses move place to place to place. I've had never mind. Many members of the Dixie Mafia were formed in the state and federal prisoners. Members of it were usually recruited while they're in prison. A history of violence behavior was generally a precursor to becoming a member. According to the article, a Las Vegas Review Journal, the gangs was well known for its violence and collecting debt owed to gambling houses and strip clubs. The term Dixie Mafia and Southern Mafia has been used inchargeably. Documents used the two terms that exist as early as 1993 when Scarfone, and that's how it's pronounced, Scarfone, wrote about the Dixie Mafia and the Southern Mafia working together with the Italian Mafia in the South. His accounts with the good old boy Southern Mafia in part 3 and 4 of an article described as a group insidious nature. Whether or not all journalistic or literal references to the Dixie Mafia and the Southern Mafia refer to the same group of the individuals is unclear. Therefore, these terms have become general reference for illegal enterprises in the South states that, for cultural reasons, can expect a certain amount of support, both attended and unattended, from local population. I guess that's just the whole best thing. I mean, if you have a mafia or now it's more or less gangs. I think they just switched everything to just the gangs. Mafia stuff is just mafia stuff. Because I read in one part the reason why they don't like to be called mafia people or mafia mob stuff is because of the basic fact is if you keep it hidden, it stays hidden. The Dixie Mafia developed a huge presence in the local law enforcement system. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, reported on this inflation. It was out of control, said retired Special Agent Keith Bell, referring to the level of corruption in Biloxi and Harrison County. So much so that in 1983, federal authorities would designate the entire Harrison County Sheriff's Office as a criminal enterprises. The Dixie Mafia sheriff and officer loyal to them were doing anything and everything illegal down there. For money, they would release prisoners from the county jail, safeguard drug shipments, and hide fugitives. Anything you could think of, they were involved in. In some locations, the infiltration was so bad that the corrupt local sheriffs and deputies regularly extorted local businesses, aided prostitution, and in some cases murdered their political opponents in cold blood. The Dixie Mafia did an exponential job of infiltrating law enforcement, taking over positions that would have naturally opposed their operations, making an exorbitant amount of money. Now, speaking of that, there have been references of when I was working as a correctional officer, that there was Dixie Mafia down south that were basically running the prison, and it was to the point to where one of the guys found a cell phone, and they just handed the cell phone back to the inmate, which it baffled me. I mean, it happens, and this was like a high-ranking official in the not the mafia, but the correctional team. I think he was like a lieutenant or something like that. But there has just before Kennedy's assassination in 1922, and November 22nd, 1963, Jack Ruffy made a connection to Tafayette, another mob leader, Carlos Marcelino. Now, there's actually, let's get this in here. Sometimes you lose a piece of yourself that you can have back. Yeah, this is another Dixie Mafia thing. This nightmare was upon America. Okay, 1960s. Okay, it's a puff piece, I guess. He's writing. Okay. Dope smuggling skills were finally tuned at the aid of the fixed wing aircraft under cover of 4,500 takeoff, landing each day at the Army Air Base, extending to 150 miles in any direction: South Alabama, Northwest Florida, and Southwest Georgia. Geography. The area was not quite a gas tank area from Columbia and other hot spots, and I guess that's okay. In 1966, along came Army Captain. Oh, okay, they were just using the military to drop off their stuff. Anyways, now there have been sorry for that. I'm going to have to cut that out. There had been Sicilians that were Dixie Mafia in Louisiana, because that's where they stopped at, and that's where they any place that you have ports and whatnot, you'll have it to where you'll have like organized crime big time, because shipping and whatnot. But anyways, this one's kind of a short and sweet and kind of random. My day's totally messed up. Going from South Dakota to Texas, back and forth. My mind is messed up. But I will have a better episode next week. I promise I'll have everything done. But anyways, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.